When I left for that business trip, I thought it would be just another week away. I kissed my wife, Hannah, goodbye at the airport, promised to call when I landed, and joked about how she'd finally get the quiet weekend she always claimed she needed. She smiled, told me to focus on work, and that she'd keep herself busy. I didn't know those words would echo in my head for months afterward. The flight was long, the meetings longer, but each night I'd call home, just to hear her voice. Sometimes she didn't answer, saying she'd fallen asleep early. Other times, her tone felt distant, like she was distracted by something, or someone else. Still, I brushed it off. We'd been married for 8 years. Trust wasn't something I questioned. Not until that night. It was the last evening before I flew back. I called her and she didn't pick up. I tried again. Nothing. A message followed. Sorry, babe. Went out with friends. Talk tomorrow. She never used to call me babe. It felt off, like she was trying too hard to sound casual. I told myself I was overthinking. I wanted to believe that. When I returned home, something in the air felt different the moment I stepped through the door. The house smelled like her perfume. Stronger than usual, almost as if it was meant to cover something else. Her shoes weren't by the entrance, her purse wasn't on the counter. Just silence. Thick, uncomfortable silence. I unpacked slowly, trying to shake off the unease. I checked my phone again, no message, no call. I finally heard the door open around 10 p.m. She walked in, startled to see me. Oh, you're home early, she said, her voice uncertain. I told you I'd catch the evening flight, I reminded her. She laughed nervously, brushed past me, and went straight to the bedroom. No hug, no warmth, just avoidance. Something inside me knew. I didn't have proof, but I didn't need it. Her eyes avoided mine, her phone never left her side, and her words were shorter than usual. I spent the next day pretending things were fine, but every small thing screamed that they weren't. A half-finished glass of wine on the table, 2 plates in the sink, though she claimed she'd eaten alone, and a faint smell of cologne that wasn't mine. By the 3rd day, I couldn't take it. I asked her directly, "Is there something you need to tell me?" She froze, then laughed. A hollow, forced sound. "You've been watching too many movies, Mark." But her hands shook when she said it, and that was all the confirmation I needed. I didn't shout. I didn't demand names or reasons. I just sat down, looked at the woman I'd built my life around, and asked one last time, "Do you love him?" Her lips trembled. She whispered, "It's not like that. That's the thing about betrayal, it's always like that." That night I barely slept. The ceiling felt heavier, the air colder. Every memory played in fragments. The morning coffees, the road trips, the promises whispered in the dark. I wondered when it all started to fade. Maybe it wasn't the trip. Maybe I had already lost her long before I packed that suitcase. The next morning, I left for work early. But instead of heading to the office, I drove to a small cafe near the edge of town. I needed space to think, to breathe. I sat there for hours, watching couples laugh, friends talk, and strangers live their ordinary lives while mine was quietly falling apart. That's when a message came through on my phone, from an unknown number. It read, "She said you'd be gone till Sunday. Guess she lied to both of us." I stared at that message for what felt like an eternity. The words didn't make sense at first. My heart raced, hands trembling slightly as I read them again and again. Then, like a cruel puzzle snapping into place, everything I'd been trying to ignore suddenly made sense. I typed back, "Who is this?" No reply. A few seconds later, the typing indicator appeared, then disappeared. Silence again. I waited, feeling every passing second tighten around my chest. Then the message came, "You deserve to know. I'm sorry." Attached was a photo. It was my wife sitting on our living room couch. Same couch where we'd watched movies, eaten dinner, argued, and made up. But now she wasn't alone. A man's arm was draped around her shoulders. His face wasn't fully visible, but I recognized the tattoo, one I'd seen before on the neighbor across the street, Dylan. I didn't react right away. I just stared. My body felt detached, like I was watching someone else's life crumble. I thought about the times Dylan had waved from his driveway, offered to help with the lawn, even borrowed my tools. Every small act of friendliness now felt poisoned. When I finally stood up, my coffee had gone cold. I didn't go home. Couldn't. Instead, I drove aimlessly, through streets I'd known for years, past places that once held meaning but now felt foreign. Every red light gave me time to think, to feel the anger and heartbreak clawing their way through my chest. By the time I reached the house again, it was evening. Her car was parked outside. The lights were on. Through the front window, I could see her pacing, phone in hand. Maybe she was waiting for me. Maybe she was waiting for him. I walked in quietly. She turned, startled, as if she'd seen a ghost. "Mark, you're home early again," she stammered. "Yeah," I said softly, setting my keys on the table. "Seems to be a habit lately." She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. "Don't lie," I said. My voice was calm, too calm. "I know about Dylan." Her face went pale. She sank onto the couch, the same one from the photo. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she whispered, "It just happened." Those words burned, as if betrayal was some accident, like spilling a drink or forgetting an appointment. "How long?" I asked. She hesitated, then said, "A few months." I laughed, but it wasn't out of humor. "So all those nights you said you were tired, or working late, you were with him?" She looked down, silent. I could have yelled. I could have broken things, demanded explanations, or begged for reasons. But instead, I walked to the window and looked outside. The world was still there, quiet, ordinary, unaware that mine had collapsed. Finally, I turned back. "I'm not going to make a scene," I said. "You've made your choice. Just know that when you walk out that door, you don't get to walk back in." Tears filled her eyes, but I felt nothing. No pity, no anger, just emptiness. She tried to touch my arm, but I stepped back. "Please, Mark. It didn't mean." "Then why did you let it?" I interrupted. There was no answer, just silence. That night, I packed a small bag and left. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay in that house another minute. I checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town and sat there until morning, staring at the ceiling, wondering how everything had unraveled so fast. When dawn finally broke, I scrolled through my phone again. Dozens of unread messages from her. I deleted them without opening any. Then I saw one more message from that unknown number. "For what it's worth, she told me she still loves you. But I guess love means different things to different people." I didn't reply. Love wasn't supposed to look like this. It wasn't supposed to be a secret shared between neighbors or a lie wrapped in perfume. I checked out of the motel, drove to my brother's place 2 towns over, and told him everything. He listened quietly, then said something I'll never forget. "Maybe this was the night you finally came home to yourself." And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt that he was right. Because sometimes the worst night of your life doesn't end your story. It begins the chapter where you finally stop living in someone else's.